America Meditating Radio Show, we collect wisdom, inspire each other, and empower hearts 24/7. Hi, I'm Sister Jenna. Join me and guest on Blog Talk Radio as we amplify stories that compel us to be more for ourselves and everyone else around us. America Meditating Radio Show, we collect wisdom, inspire each other, and empower hearts 24/7. Hi, I'm Sister Jenna. Join me and guest on Blog Talk Radio as we amplify stories that compel us to be more for ourselves and everyone else around us.
In 1987, some first graders were promised a college education. This came from Oral Lee Brown, who saved a large portion of her modest income, sending 19 kids to college, helping others. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at Values.com.
Are you in need of a tech service company that's going to deliver the best solutions for your business? Then Attronica is your solutions headquarters. Here we specialize in your individual needs to make sure your business shines. For more information, please call 301-417-0070 or visit us at our website at attronica.net. Attronica, where we deliver for you. Are you stressed, frustrated, or annoyed at work? You don't have to be. Soothe your mind and open your heart as Sister Jenna guides you through a peaceful, calming meditation that will prepare you to focus, be present, and most importantly, bring you back to your inner peace.
Hi, I'm Angela Peabody of Global Woman Peace Foundation, and I listen to America's Meditating Radio Show.
Hi, my name is Missy Crutchfield with Gandhi's Bee Magazine, online magazine designed to raise awareness and inspire people about all of the amazing things happening in the world, as well as all the challenging things that can help us raise awareness so we can make a difference in the world and be the change. One of my inspirations is Sister Jenna and America Meditating Radio. I listen, you should too.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. If you can, reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. If you can, just try. Take a little time out of your day to give encouragement to someone who's lost the way. Or would I be talking to a stone if I asked you to share a problem
everyone, and welcome to America Meditating Radio. I'm your host, Sister Jenna. I hope the show finds you well and in a good place. And if you happen to be struggling with something, that's also a good place because you're being signaled that perhaps you're missing something, or perhaps you're ready to step into or walk into a more powerful place for yourself, or maybe all that you've been through up until this point is actually preparing you for more. Had a beautiful conversation with a friend yesterday, and, relationships are always the most beautiful, most best opportunities that we can walk into. But it was really about, she was feeling called to be more into her spirituality and leaving her corporate office and corporate work. And I get that. And I have to tell you, my friends, I'm moving into 30 years here of being on this path, and I can tell you what the first 5 years were like. It was like, I got it. I'm realized I've got this. I mean, the response from people was always so overwhelming. When people are looking at you like you are God incarnate, it plays on your ego and it plays on your self-worth and your truth. Be very, very frank with you. But thanks to Destiny and Drama, who happen to be my very, very dearest friends, I'm sitting in my meditation room at the center in Great Neck, New York. And I remember sitting in front of God and going, I get that everybody thinks I'm like incarnated or something, but I know I'm not. And I don't think I want to live that deception, nor do I feel like I want to be an instrument to deceive anyone. And it was at that moment I felt my truth. I felt so powerful because I was being so truthful. And after that day, everyone, I was just me. In other words, I wasn't trying to project a me that I wanted to get to or become or define to the world that this is what I'm going to be. But I was me, like I was present with where I was, with what was sitting in me. And that's when I started to share with folks what my past was like, where I've been, what I've been through, where before I would just keep it quiet, like who needs to know? But now it was like I was okay. I was comfortable with where I have been and where I am today and where I might be going tomorrow. And so what I'm trying to share with you is that when I was telling her the story about spirituality, I was telling her, please don't think that when you come into spirituality, you get into this complete state of enlightenment and you leave your family and friends behind and you go live up in an ashram away from the mountains, and then you give up all your money, your looks, your cars, your everything, and just sit as a saint, and people start to worship you and you're this and you're that, and then you collect funds and then you do this with it. I go, no, listen. And I could be wrong, and maybe I will be, I don't know, but my heart says, and everything in my being says, that we have been on a journey over a long period of time on a soul level. That means I've taken more than one lifetime. If I'm an old soul, I've been here before. I've been doing a lot. I've done marriage. I've done kids. I've been a man. I've been a woman. I've been a Christian. I've been a Jew. I've been rich. I've been poor. I've been happy. I've been sad. And this is the lifetime where there's something that's awakening inside of the consciousness, and it's saying, are you now ready to stop searching outside of yourself, but to listen inside of yourself to see where your strengths are and to emerge these strengths because of your love for God and yourself and humanity? So when I'm on this path of spirituality, what I'm trying to share with you that I shared with her, don't ruin your marriage because your spirituality is calling you and that this is it. No, you're in that marriage to learn something deep about who you can be and who you are. And at the same token, you're amplifying your spirituality in the midst of all of that. And yes, if it's really abusive and unhealthy, get out. You don't need to be in that at all. Yes, you karmically created that, but get out because you can karmically create that too. And so your path of spirituality is, for me, and I can only share my perspective, I want to value everyone that comes in front of me. And if I see something I don't necessarily approve of within my own conscious energy, I want to still be able, from a clean place in my conscience, to say, I really wish that so well. And I wish to see that I'm able to keep observing that love is amplifying in my nature, regardless of how the situations are turning out in my life. You're listening to America Meditating Radio. Hold the line because we're going to have Leslie-Stein on. She's Wonder Woman. She's doing a lot of good stuff, and we're going to have her tell us about her journey and about what it all means for her as a life-changing realization life coach. Before I go to Leslie, I want us to do what we do best here on the America Meditating, and that's just have a moment of reflection. Breathe in deeply.
Feeling safe.
taking just a minute. Like a tortoise, I move into the safety of my inner world and experience a world free from distractions. I feel secure, protected, knowing that I am true to myself. I experience my true value, independent of the influence of others. I now gently step back into my surroundings. Welcome back. The American Meditating Radio is privileged to welcome Leslie-Stein. You see, Leslie has tried a little bit of everything. Her nonlinear path has given her opportunities to travel the world and study human dynamics as well as live life to the fullest every minute. She calls herself a life-enthusiast because if there's some kind of challenge most people don't want to tackle, well, she's going to give it a try. So from running a marathon to taking lessons to master the flying trapeze, Leslie decided early on to take the road less traveled, which led her to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point after high school. She was later commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Army and spent 7 years as an aviation officer. After leaving the Army and working in various jobs, she started Full Circle Inspiration, and she works with women in leadership through her Lead Like a Girl events online communities. Today we welcome Leslie-Stein to the American Meditating Radio. Hello, Wonder Woman. Welcome.
Hello, sister-jenna. How are you? So good to be here.
Same here. I just love looking at your video, and I just wanted to hop into the screen and join you.
Oh, thank you. It's funny, as I was listening to you this morning, I'm like, this message is so for me and a reminder of where I am in my own life right now. I feel the same way. I wanted to jump through the phone and hug you.
Well, we're going to have to make that inspiration happen. Leslie, I love, I've done a lot of work at the Pentagon here. And I remember back in the days, of course, when Bush was in office, he didn't want me anywhere near it, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But before, just a lot of service to the men and women who are playing the role of saying that they're going to protect our borders and protect our country. I always remembered walking up and they would say, "Oh, here comes the angel." I used to love that because I wear this white sari and it looks like wings. So to me, I get that Wonder Woman status very, very well. And so, here you are after the military. It's a very interesting transition from a life of complete discipline and what you might say is living for this bigger purpose. You took various jobs, which meant you must have been searching for something that would click for you, to connect to your bigness inside of your soul. But then you started Full Circle Inspiration, and I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, the whole Wonder Woman thing came about. A lot of what you were talking about today, it's like I was afraid to let people call me that or have that persona because I didn't want it to become like a thing of ego, right? And what I found was it was the thing that the world was requesting of me. People wanted some vibrance. They wanted to be able to talk about their own inner superheroes because they weren't getting a chance to do that. And so by kind of just accepting the gifts that people would give me that had Wonder Woman on them or having those conversations, that's kind of how that evolved. And that's kind of how my company evolved. I followed the breadcrumbs, kind of the path that was in front of me without trying to worry about necessarily where I was going. It's like, what's the step I need to do right now? And so the biggest step that put me on the path that I'm on was I was actually working inside the mortgage industry right before the economic downturn. And it was a crazy place. You could kind of see the writing on the wall. Like stuff was going really, really well, and you could kind of feel this teetering edge. Something was going to happen. And as the downturn started to happen and we began losing clients and dues weren't coming in from our members, my boss said to me, we're going to have to make some really tough choices, and I need someone who can lead those conversations that's not involved in them, that doesn't have something to cut. So can you please go take a class on facilitation and learn how to be kind of the neutral party that guides those conversations? And so I did that inside of a really tough environment, and eventually got laid off myself from that organization and found that the skill I had developed inside was something I wanted to bring to more people in the world. So how to have difficult conversations, how to use these structures to open up possibilities that weren't there before people were willing to sit down and talk about them.
Very powerful, because nowadays you're hearing that a lot of folks are feeling a little bit kind of powerless or stuck. We've gone through what we claim as to be, this is the proper way to do it, this is the way that you play life, you got to do it safe, you need health insurance, you need a retirement fund at the end of your life's journey, so to speak, but there isn't this sense of matching your passion and your bliss with where you're putting most of your energy in. So I know that you are inspiring others to look for new perspectives. Could you share with us maybe one or two things that you actually tell your clients to help them to tweak their perception as to how they can go about living a more amplified life?
Absolutely. The biggest thing that I tell people is stop looking for answers outside of yourself. You know, everybody wants that big, powerful teacher or the quote that's going to make them get it or the book to read. And those things help us unlock within ourselves some of our own answers. But I had a teacher say to me, like, you've studied enough. Be your own guru for a few years. Stop going to other people's lectures and stuff. And during those 2 years, I developed my own system. It was my version of meditation because I love movement and I love color and vibrance, but I wanted a way to go internal with it. And so I ended up drawing a picture every night before bed and then writing a quick note on the back. It was just a 3x5 card, so it was a small note. It took me about 10 or 15 minutes, but it was about finding love in my day. And so at first it was really hard. That muscle was not built up at all yet. I'd get to the end of the day and be like, oh, darn it, what am I going to write about? Did I have love in my life today? I didn't feel like it. I'm single. My family lives far away. But I started building that muscle until I'd get to the end of the day and I'd say, oh my gosh, I have 3 things I could write about. And eventually I was going through my day, I thought I could write about this and I could write about this. And so I started basically teaching myself how full my life was of all the things that I thought existed somewhere else. Like, I need a boyfriend to have love, but that was just so not true. So for me, that journey was about turning inside and appreciating the teachers I had learned from, but then building on that from within.
How many times have I heard individuals come to me and say, I need a partner to feel my worth or my identity? And I think it's really normal. To be honest with you, I believe being in a relationship is such a normal thing. I don't believe the consciousness that we walk with saying, I am complete, I'm valued, I'm loved because I have someone. And I know that that's what's getting a lot of people disappointed in relationships because they end up in a relationship where it's not supporting their higher selves at time. I'm not saying that's everyone, but I'm saying that it's definitely a pretty high number of people just feeling this is not the one, but then you've now got 2 kids, you've got karmic situations, you don't have enough security financially, you don't really know how to get out of this. So we put ourselves in positions and places where we have almost supported or fed being in a state of powerlessness. So one of the things I think you're advocating is find that relationship within you first, and whoever is to come to be with you will match you where you are in your relationship with yourself. Would you say so?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So the progression of these notes was actually, I started them because I felt like I was ready to have a soulmate, like somebody who was going to play with my higher consciousness and my, physical being too, but I wanted both components. And so I had to ask myself, what should I do to attract that person? So at first I just started finding love in my life. I needed to be able to see love to understand it. So I wrote the note to my soulmate even though I had not met him yet for a full year. So the love was inspired by people that were actually in my life, but the note was to my soulmate. When I got to the end of that year, I was like, okay, universe, God, source, whatever you want to call yourself, here are 365 data points of what I think would be a good partner for me based on all the love that's already in my life. But now I realize I have not really been the woman that he deserves. So how do I recognize who I am and call forth my best self? So I did a whole second year of notes that I wrote to my own soul, which was actually much harder. So at the end of every day, it was, dear soul, here's one thing I'm proud of for you today. Good job doing this. And that was actually much harder. But so those 2 years, and then I put those notes in a box, and I didn't meet the man that kind of filled that void for me until, I guess I met him a couple months after I quit doing the notes, but we didn't start dating for about a year and a half. So it took some time for all of that to settle in, yeah.
It almost sounds like Indian dating. You don't even meet your husband before you marry him. You know, you just marry him on the day that you met him.
We actually say to each other, because he actually did a cartoon. You're not going to believe this. Like, you know, people call me Wonder Woman. The way that we met was I was Googling something about Wonder Woman, and I found a cartoon called Wonder Woman's Boyfriend that he writes. And I thought, what's this? And I checked it out. And so that's how we connected. And it honestly, we said to each other, this feels like an arranged marriage by the universe. Like, we met and
what
it
a beautiful
felt
story.
Right. It was just crazy, yeah.
Oh, beautiful story. I know you've authored a book entitled Penny Perspectives, Let Go of Happily Ever After, and Invest in Happily Ever Now. Tell us a little bit about the book and the Penny Project.
Yeah, it actually started when I lived in Washington, D.C. for several years, and about that same time where the economy was just about to start taking a downturn, I was, you know, working girl in the city, like just in that kind of hamster wheel, kind of going to work every day, doing what I do at the office, and then going home, and kind of in a blur. And I was walking home, and I found a $20 bill on the ground. And my first thought was, like, have we become so unconscious that we're literally just dropping 20s and don't even know it? And so I took the 20, went and treated myself to a pedicure, because that was like a big treat back then. I was like, I can afford a pedicure right now. So I went and got one. And as I was sitting in the chair getting my toes done, I thought, well, how much money do I pass by on a regular basis that I don't pick up because it's not big? You know, a penny or a nickel that I don't even bother. And so I committed to picking up all the money that I passed for a year. And so I started doing that. And as I did it, people found out what I was doing, and they wanted to play along too. And so we ended up collecting about $85 just in change that we could find on the street and in buses and, you know, at checkout lines in Target or something. And I was just going to call it a day and say, hey, that was a fun year. Let's donate this money to charity. But there was this kind of like, no, you can't stop. We're having too much fun with it. It created a little bit of consciousness around this one thing, right, finding money. And so it's been ongoing now. This is the 10th year, and it's had peaks and valleys, but we've collected almost $5,000 that I then donate in small increments, you know, anywhere from $100 up to $500 to people doing good things in their communities that could use a little boost.
Well, you know, that's called pure charity. We call that in Hindi punya karma, where you perform an act without really wanting anything in return, but it really is multiplied even more than you'll ever imagine. I love that. Thank you so much for doing that. Being a life enthusiast, does that mean to just keep staying happy no matter what?
Oh, gosh, no.
Okay, good, because I was going to get a little bit concerned about you.
No. I think in my early days, that's what I thought it meant. But now the way I look at it is, you know, I spent all these years like drawing these cards, right? So I used crayons every night for a couple of years. And I thought, you know, happy colors are like orange, yellow, you know, the bright colors. But how hard would it be to draw if that's all you ever use, right? Sometimes like the blues and the deep purples and the black crayons that maybe represent sadder or more difficult emotions are just what you need to have a complete picture. So for me, a life enthusiast is someone who embraces all the aspects of emotion and humanity and is willing to, you know, go to those hard, dark places and kind of see what's there, because that's part of the human experience.
Well, let's talk about Lead Like a Girl, because I know that we're at a stage in our culture here in America. And you know what surprises me, Leslie, is I've seen like India has had a female prime minister, Singapore has had, certain African countries have had women leaders. And I'm not saying that I'm voting for anyone. Please don't take this as a subtle plug. But it's just interesting that within our own American genre here, we haven't been able to elect a woman leader, a woman president for decades. So when you're talking about leading like a girl, are you preparing women for leadership roles such as this? And why is it that America has not been able to put a woman in office yet? Is it that there are women in this country that are just not qualified, or is it that we don't believe we can hold an office such as the White House?
Interesting. I think there's definitely women who are qualified, and I think that there's a lot of people who believe it's possible. Now, I don't know if it's the majority that would, you know, vote a woman in that office, but what's interesting to me is I think about masculine and feminine, and, you know, everyone has masculine and feminine traits, and so I feel like sometime in the, I don't know when it was, maybe in the 70s, women were entering the workforce, and they thought that in order to be successful, they needed to be more like the men. So a lot of the feminine qualities of leadership got pushed aside, and our female role models still had a lot of masculine traits. And so I think, for me, when I watched the election with Sarah Palin, who, whether you agree with her ideologically or not, she brought a lot of, chutzpah, but also a lot of masculine qualities, but she also dressed in a very feminine way, and she wore lipstick and makeup and beautiful clothes, and she got very criticized for that. And so it was like the world wasn't quite ready for the feminine to kind of re-embody the women who are leading. And so I think there's a struggle within all of us about where is our balance, right? Are we more masculine or feminine? And, I mean, a lot of people are talking about how the divine feminine is really, trying to make a resurgence and balance out what's been going on in our country. And so I think once we can accept that within ourselves, we'll be more likely to want to elect a woman to represent kind of what's going on in our country.
It's a very powerful thing, because if as souls we all have masculine and feminine traits, maybe we have already elected a woman in office, because I know some men who have a lot of nurturing qualities that would model if they were in a female role, so to speak. And sometimes I'm just thinking from a broader perspective. Is it really just the gender that you're in, or is it just the nature of your spirit that determines if you have actually elected, if you've elected the qualities of a woman in office, or just the qualities of the masculine in office? So I think we have then, now that we're having this conversation and we're making it much broader than just I see a woman and that's it, but that from a level of consciousness, the way of leadership, if it has been based on virtues and sustainability and nurturing and tolerance, then maybe we have done that. Maybe we have put a woman in office already. And I don't mean that in terms of a woman is a lesser gender, because I've seen where they have modeled a tremendous amount of inner strength and have shown their character in many, many genres. So I guess it's just a matter of interpretation and perception and how the world defines, the role of a man and the role of a woman. So let's just see.
I was going to say, for me, when the idea of Lead Like a Girl came about was right as I was getting out of the Army. And I was getting out because I thought I wasn't the perfect example of what an Army leader should be. I was, especially towards the end, when I had already told people I was getting out and I didn't have to hold that secret inside anymore. I really was a lot more feminine and turned my office into this place with, I always had fresh flowers and a teapot and some magazines so people could come in and decompress. So I created this more receptive environment versus the active, pushing kind of office I'd always had before. And so it was like, oh my gosh, I really can lead like a girl and be effective. And I actually found that it was more effective, but it wasn't because I was being masculine or feminine. It was because I was being true to myself. I was balancing the two sides and bringing out more of what I'd been suppressing. So when I tell people lead like a girl, I'm like, men, that's for you too. Lead like you is what I'm really saying. Be who you are and bring that to the world, because the world's hungry for authenticity and realness.
Beautiful. Well said. Leslie, I've enjoyed our conversation today.
Thank you so much. This has been a real blessing.
Me too. Leave us with a favorite life quote and a website. And if you're ever in D.C., could you come by and share some of your wonderful tools at the Meditation Museum when you come next?
Absolutely. I would love to. I'm going to look for a way to make that happen. That's great.
Beautiful.
So here's my quote. I pulled one of my soul notes out of the closet, and this is the quote I want to leave you with. To lead others, you must follow your own heart.
Nice. Beautiful website.
Right now it's fullcircleinspiration.com. So you can find me there.
Exquisite. Leslie, all the very best, and keep leading in a beautiful way.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Lots of jewels from Leslie-Stein today. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. I love it in a way when she was almost like saying, I had to come out of the closet of just saying, I am in the military, but I'm feminine, and I don't think I'm going to be able to continue being in here. And that is so cool. I just thought that was just so cool. Do we even have to be so masculine as a woman to be a soldier. I don't know. I guess it depends on the role of the part. But yeah, be yourself, whatever you're subtly being called to do. And remember, being yourself also requires qualifications. And that means you've got to put something in it to qualify that, not just being yourself in this aloof sense of self and no one kind of figures you out, like, what are you doing? But yeah, just live that reality that's calling you to a higher sense of self. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on America Meditating Radio. You know how much thoughts and time and energy means to us. And please feel free to visit the HuffPost articles that I write. Just Google in sister-jenna and HuffPost and download the Pause for Peace app so that you can listen to Leslie 24/7 and hear this conversation over and over again if you don't want to go the long route and go to Blog Talk Radio and do it like that. So anyway, remember, no one can take away your happiness unless you give them permission, and we are here to love each other the same. So let's do so. I want to end today's conversation from our very dear friend Sanatan Kaur. So please stay tuned for that. That's going to be fun. I'm going to keep that as a really big secret, and wish you all very well. Take care, everyone.